With Death Battle on its mid-season break, we have a lot of time to speculate on what kind of matches will come out in the last half of the season and beyond. And that's what I'm going to do today. I've gone from coincidentally coming up with the same idea as Nemesis and agreeing to post my video at the same time as his to just directly stealing his ideas. Epic. Speaking of Nemesis, he has done his own version of this video and I won't be using any matches that he chose. Mostly not that big of a deal, but there were 2 matches in particular I really wanted to include that I can't anymore. SMH Nemesis, why can't you consider the fact that I might want to steal your video idea with my own set of arbitrary rules? But anyway, go check out his video if you want to see another 10 likely matches to happen. Also, to try and make the matches more interesting, I'll be avoiding Marvel vs DC matches altogether. We've had our fill of those. They are already scraping the bottom of the barrel for a C-tier Marvel character versus a D-tier DC character. No confirmed matches either because that's just cheating. And I'm avoiding Beerus and Krona. I've got an entire video out on who Beerus could fight and I might do one for Krona as well. Anyway, let's just go over the matches I think are likely and who I think wins them. But I have not done a shred of research for this, so do not expect accuracy of any kind. Starting off, we have Joker vs Giorno. I have very little experience with either of their series. I've only watched the first 3 episodes of JoJo's, which don't involve Giorno at all, and I only know Joker through Smash. But I do still like Joker a lot and I think he in particular has a lot of potential for a cool fight scene whether he fights Giorno, Rex or some other opponent that I haven't seen requested a lot. I am trying to vaguely order these fights from least to most likely, and this is definitely the least likely match I'm going to bring up in this video. Mainly because Ben has said he doesn't think a Persona vs JoJo fight would be something either fanbase would be interested in. But it's so highly requested that it's bound to happen at some point. Joker probably wins from what I've heard, but apparently Golden Experience Requiem is one of the strongest stands with some really hacksy abilities, so Giorno would definitely go down swinging if he were to lose. Next we have Jason Voorhees vs Michael Myers, one of the last quintessential death battles that hasn't happened yet. I once thought this fight was fully deconfirmed, but apparently that was based on something said in one of the Death Battle cast episodes I was told about that was misinterpreted. This one is still on the less likely side though, since Death Battle doesn't do too many movie fights and they've never used a horror movie character once. But it's still such an iconic rivalry that I can't imagine they'll never do it. This is one of few fights I really want to see done in live action. I think there's endless potential to create a creepy atmosphere in the fight like what Carnage vs Lucy did. They'd need to get the lighting and music just right for this match to work as well as it possibly could as a horror movie battle. Jason probably wins through his ridiculous immortality and sheer brute strength, but Michael isn't a pushover at all. Though he's definitely not the strongest character named Michael, because he will always be second to Michael Newman from the cinematic icon click. This next one is the only other one I had on my dream season list. Piccolo vs Martian Manhunter. It's obvious that Manhunter wins. Any match that has the most unbiased person on YouTube planet admit that the DC character beats the Dragon Ball character has to be a huge stomp in the DC character's favor. But still, this is a really highly requested fight and both characters have a lot to work with in the fight scene. Manhunter is basically the Swiss Army knife of the Justice League, and Piccolo's fighting style being more based on strategy than just hitting people really hard could make for some really dynamic choreography. Piccolo losing would not sit well with the Dragon Ball fandom, and I would be sad to see him die, but this is still pretty likely to happen at some point. Definitely something I'd be more interested in than Manhunter vs Silver Surfer. We have a lot more cartoon fights going forward, the first of which is Jenny Wakeman vs Robot Boy. This has been really highly requested for years and I think it has a lot of potential to be a fun fight and would actually be a good use of a hand-drawn fight, unlike Genis vs War Machine. Though even if it was hand-drawn, the episode would be a failure if they did not have a scene where they both fought on their roller skates. I recently watched a video by Red Runner and he does a really good job breaking this fight down. Were it not for a single speed feat Jenny had, this would be one of the closest fights in Death Battle history. I'll link his video in the description. Definitely go and check it out, as well as the custom track made for the hypothetical fight by Ben TGM. I have no connection to Jenny and I've only seen a few episodes of Robot Boy, so I don't have much to say here. Jenny probably wins. The fight would be cool and it's one of my favorites on the list. I'm not quite as fond of this next one though. Jimmy Neutron vs Dexter has never been a match I've liked that much. I don't think it's a bad matchup at all, just not one that I'm super into since I've never watched an episode of either show. Plus, I don't know how it could be animated. Sprites wouldn't do either character justice. Jimmy probably wouldn't work super well in 2D and Dexter would probably look horrifying in 3D. But it's highly requested enough to where I think it's bound to happen at some point. Rewind Rumble did this match and had Dexter win, so I'm going to go on a long shot and say Jimmy would probably win if Death Battle did the match. So Jimmy vs Dexter isn't a cartoon rivalry I care much for, but one I really do like is Homer vs Peter. I don't know who wins, but as long as it's over the top and fun like their crossover episode, then I don't really care. I'd prefer for Homer to take the penguin, but I'm not super attached to either. Peter winning in the crossover can't really be used as an argument though, since that fight was less about their fighting abilities and more about utilizing weapons and such in each location they fought. This would of course need to be done in the 2D hand-drawn style. The only argument I can see against this happening would be that they already fought in their crossover, but again, that fight had a lot of outside influences that weren't the characters' stats. But there is one solid argument I can see against this match happening, and that's that Peter Griffin vs Adam Taurus is a significantly better match. Indeed. One last cartoon match for the road, this being one of the few matches in this video to be a community death battle. Donald Duck vs Daffy Duck. The Disney vs Looney Tunes rivalry is one that has existed for decades, and I think this is way more likely than Mickey vs Bugs. Mainly because Mickey is currently fully blacklisted from appearing on Death Battle. But I prefer Donald vs Daffy anyway because there's probably a lot more potential for them to have funny banter in the fight. I don't know who wins though. Believe it or not, I'm not fully versed in the combined 2 centuries of material these characters have to their names. And the amount of material they'd have to cover is the main reason it isn't higher. Still, this would be a hype match. Maybe even as a possible season finale. Who knows? Alright, now into the 3 I think are the most likely. Alex Mercer vs Cole McGrath is one of the most highly requested matches I've ever seen across the decade I've watched Death Battle, and it boggles my mind that they haven't done it yet. I've never played any games from the infamous or prototype series, so I don't have any connections to this one or thoughts on who would win. But I've seen the power sets both characters are working with, and there's so much potential for a really fun fight. Alex in particular has a lot of veritable versatility to work with, and it'd be a damn shame if he was put to waste on someone like Carnage. I'm not sure if they'd go with Evil Cole or not, but either way I'd be down for this episode. Especially if they had Cole use his gigawatt blades to have a sword fight with Alex. The 3D team has proven that they can handle sword battles pretty well. This match is season finale material for sure. But now for the match that I think is the most worthy of being a season finale out of any match I'm going to talk about today. Broly vs Asura has everything going for it. It's a highly requested fight with incredibly popular characters with potential to be the most destructive fight this side of Thanos vs Darkseid. Death Battle doesn't usually let these cosmic scale fights play out to the insane destructive levels the characters could reach, but Broly vs Asura is one that would suffer greatly from not letting the characters go all out. They could go around destroying planets in their conflict and eventually reach even higher levels of cosmic destruction. The result seems to depend on which Broly they use. Asura could probably beat the original non-canon one, but the one from the new movie curbs his shit in. I can't say I'm super attached to either character, but this has potential to be one of the largest scale fights in Death Battle history. There would be high expectations for this one since it's amongst a lot of people's most wanted fights. I think this is a guaranteed lock to happen at some point. It's one of the fights I've seen requested the most, and they even did a community death battle on it. But how could a match I think is definitely going to happen not make the top spot? Well, I'm going over some honorable mentions first. Firstly is the scrapped Galaxy Grudge match episode of Gara of the Sand vs the Flying Dutchman. The Pirates vs Ninjas debate is one I've seen a lot, and these are definitely the most noteworthy in their respective classes. This honestly might be a rivalry even more popular than Mario vs Sonic, Goku vs Superman, or Kung Fu Panda is a series that Death Battle absolutely needs to use, and Peach vs Tai Lung is one of the matches that needs to happen the most. If you don't understand this match, just know that I'm very disappointed in you. Then there's Davy Stone vs Spinel. They represent two series that are long overdue for a death battle. They are icons amongst reformed villains and are in a very similar level of power, clearly. And last but not least is All for One vs the Annihilator. The other three were all jokes and this one clearly isn't going to happen either, but I would pop off so fucking hard for this you have no idea. They fit so well, both being overpowered villains who steal powers and are rarely ever seen, acting basically as the final bosses of their series. Annihilator probably has some big fuck off planet level feat that makes him stomp, and I would find that so funny. This is completely unironically in my top 10 most wanted episodes of all time. Alright, now time for the actual number 1. The Death Battle crew, especially Ben, have expressed interest in remastering a lot of the matches from season 1. Master Chief vs Doomguy would definitely be my most wanted, but the most likely of them all is Link vs Cloud. This one has been name dropped multiple times as one they have a strong interest in redoing, but they've never outright confirmed it to my knowledge, so it still counts. This is definitely the biggest victim of Death Battle's old rule set, basically turning it into Smash Bros. Link vs Dissidia Cloud. With the new rules, they could actually compare the characters' stats and stick with specific versions of the characters. Which Link they'd go with is anyone's guess. They might just go with the hero of the wild due to him being the newest. If they really wanted to go all out, they could even compare Cloud to literally every Link out there. I hear Cloud should win against most Links, save for a few universal ones. But I honestly don't care as long as the animation is good, and I have faith that the fight would be cool. The first one was already great and their improved technology since then could help make it one of the greatest episodes of all time. This might not happen for a long time, but I fully believe it will happen eventually. The Death Battle team have already expressed strong interest in it, and there are no other characters Link and Cloud would likely be brought back to fight instead. Let's just hope they improve on the original. They are already 2 for 3 in that regard. So yeah, those are 10 episodes I think will happen at some point. Even if they are not all my cup of tea, I still think they are all good matches that deserve to happen. Honestly, if they were to do what they did with season 5 again, where they compose it mostly of highly requested fights, then I think these could make up half of it pretty well. Anyway, I'm bad at outros. Go check out Nemesis's video on 10 matches he thinks will happen. Paper vs Tree kinda lit, epic and Gucci.